back. Apologies for that. I thought I fixed my computer. Did not do so. Internet was dropping while it was connected to a hard wire. Interesting stuff. But if you're only watching this video, we were just talking about quarterbacks. Obviously, Geno Smith, the top overall play on the board, because Drew Lock's out. We know he's going to get the entire first half. The Chicago Bears defense isn't that great, especially when they don't have Roquan Smith. Yada yada yada. But I should say the pivot. Then, if you're playing GPPs, if you're playing tournaments, we know the Geno Smith ownership is going to be through the roof. So we are looking at Jacob Eason, obviously 4th round pick for the Colts, got cut over to the Seahawks, and he should be pretty good, I think, tonight. He's sneaky. This is his preseason debut for this year, so he could be rusty. We don't really know, but he's going to get 2 full quarters of action, and for that, you got to like it, especially with the ownership down. On Chicago's side, and by the way, this is a weird preseason game because it's a short week for these teams. Like, the NFL is just chasing money by doing a preseason game on a Thursday. It's such a bad idea for the players. It's a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. And because of that, like, Chicago has come out and said that they're really not going to be playing their starters that much, and rightfully so. Last week, Justin Fields played 18 snaps. They said for tonight, 6 to 10 snaps. I would assume if he has a long, good first drive, whether it scores or not, as long as he drives the field, that's probably going to be it. However, if he goes 3 and out, or if he doesn't get a first down on the second, try there, I could see him come in for that second drive, but I don't see Justin Fields going more than 2 drives. I don't see Darnell Mooney going more than 2, or the 6 to 10 snaps really for somebody like him. However, actually, let's just talk quarterbacks. My bad. So Justin Fields, for that reason, he's going to be an attractive name. He looked pretty good last week, but for me, he's a stay away for DFS. Agreed?
Yeah, I got no reason to pick him. I have no reason to think he'll be in the game very long. Even if it was a regular preseason game. Like, I know he needs some reps, but, I mean, he's clearly proven he's the guy anyways. He has experience as well, so, I mean, they're obviously not as important as other quarterbacks probably at their level anyways.
Right. So then last week for Chicago, like I said, Fields played 18 snaps. Trevor Simeon then played 28 snaps. He only went 7 for 13, but he passed for 89 yards and 2 touchdowns. I think he has the best chance to score a touchdown out of the 3 Bears quarterbacks, probably. We know his ownership is also going to be fairly high, though, because people are chasing those fantasy points from last week. If I told you he went 7 for 13 for 89 yards, you wouldn't be very excited. The 2 touchdowns really bailed him out. Can we trust him to do that again? I don't think so, but I do have a decent amount of Trevor Simeon exposure just because he's my favorite of the Bears quarterbacks, since Nate Peterman, yes, that Nate Peterman is quarterback 3. And he played 20 snaps last week. He went only 4 of 6. So in 20 snaps, he passed the ball 6 times. Like, they're using his stuff to showcase the running backs, it seems like, because why would you have Nate Peterman on your football team? That's just me. I don't know. But Trevor, if you're picking between Trevor Simeon and Nate Peterman, are you with me, or do you think Peterman is kind of a sneaky play since obviously people hate him?
I have no reason to believe not Simeon. I have no reason to believe Peterman's the play. Like, it just doesn't make sense. First of all, he hasn't been able to prove his abilities at really any level before. Obviously, this is preseason, so that's kind of more with a grain of salt. But still, I mean, they're obviously clearly running the ball when he's in the game more. They don't really care if he passes. And how many yards did he have on those 4 completions? Probably no more than 40.
36.
Yeah, so I mean, and he's not the guy to take downfield shots either. Like, so that's the only way I could see him making it up. So I don't think he needs to be played anywhere.
Yeah. So, I mean, if I'm going a Bears quarterback, which it's not a bad idea to put that second quarterback in your lineup here, I am going Trevor Simeon. However, I don't think it's a necessity to play a Bears quarterback today. Let's go to running backs. We'll stay on the Bears. David Montgomery didn't play last week. He was a little bit banged up. This week, again, short week, but obviously he doesn't have the wear and tear from last week. Still, I can't imagine he plays past the first series. So could he score a touchdown? Sure. If you believe the Bears are going to drive the field and score a touchdown, go ahead and play him. I don't believe they're going to do that. So there's no reason for me to play David Montgomery today.
And even if they do drive down to the end zone, you got to believe they're going to be looking to go to somebody else. Like, they know what they have in Montgomery.
True.
So if they get in the red zone, they'll probably try to go to like a rookie receiver or maybe one of their other running backs out of the backfield, something, because you don't test a guy like that in those goal-to-go situations. You test somebody else. So him not scoring and him not playing isn't a good mix.
I will say, if we get to the red zone, they wouldn't be testing him. And for this reason, maybe they would take him out. But I think they may run the ball in the red zone to test that offensive line, since it is so bad, just to see if they can get any kind of push and win the line of scrimmage down there. But, would surprise me if they took David Montgomery out in the short yardage situation and put in Tristan Ebner. No. Who, by the way, I like a lot today. But we'll get to him in a second. We'll go Khalil Herbert first. Second-year guy, obviously. He looked really good for the Bears last year. The Bears know how to draft their running backs. That's about all they do well. Maybe linebackers, too. But Khalil Herbert, good last week for the most part. He played 18 snaps. He looked good. He rushed 7 times for 20 yards, which, doesn't sound good. He caught his one target for 20 yards. So he finished with 40 yards. Not too bad. Didn't score. But overall, again, they know what they have in Khalil Herbert. And there isn't a reason to put him in harm's way in the second preseason game.
And obviously coaches don't 100% think this way, but you got to think that Tariq Cohen situation is in the back of their mind of how that all went to shit. And if they lose Khalil Herbert, they're really in trouble because, I love Dave Montgomery. I'm a big fan of him, but are we really trusting Tristan Ebner behind him? I like him too, but that's a lot to ask. So they're definitely going to be cautious this game. He's a guy I like maybe next week, but I don't have any reason to play him this week.
I agree. Let's talk about Tristan Ebner. He's a guy we brought up a little bit during draft season, someone who was a 7th-round pick that we like to do a lot. He ended up going in the 6th round to the Bears. Last week, he led the team in rushing. He had 31 yards on 6 carries. I don't think he even had a target last week, but he is actually a pretty good receiving back as well. He showcased that in college a little bit. So, yeah, there's no reason for me to think that he's not the workhorse today. He should be given a lot of run, played 19 snaps last week. I think he's going to get at least 19 today. So if you're looking for a running back to put in that captain spot on either FanDuel or DraftKings, I think he's the guy, especially because the next running back we'll talk about, who I also like, is more of a receiving back. So if you're saying who has the best chance to run for a touchdown on the Bears, I think without a doubt it's Tristan Ebner.
Yeah, preseason is tough. You're always trying to just figure out who's going to be in the game most, really. More than anything. And he seems pretty clear-cut. He's going to be in the game. Not only is he going to be in the game, but he's going to get work. And he's a good pass catcher. Even if he doesn't get anything in the air, he's going to do something on the ground that I don't know if we can trust other running backs to do. So for that reason, I think he's got to be the play.
Agreed. And then the last one I'll talk about, there's a couple other Bears running backs, but I just have zero faith in them. I'm going to talk about Darington Evans. He was a 3rd-round pick in 2020 to Tennessee. He's a good receiving back. Last week, he played 20 snaps. He led the team with 5 targets. He only caught 3 of them for 6 yards, so they did absolutely nothing. But the fact that he led the team in targets, that's good. I assume a lot of those targets were from Nate Peterman. If Nate Peterman's not going to force the ball down the field, and we know the Seahawks are going to try to get after the quarterback, maybe Evans sneaks behind the defense a little bit and takes a screen for 20, 25, maybe gets in the end zone. So if you're stacking a quarterback on the Bears, or if you're stacking Nate Peterman, really, Darington Evans could be an interesting guy to go. He also, should get some receptions. He is pretty much guaranteed to not give you a 0, in my opinion. So I think he's also interesting. However, if I'm picking one Bears running back, like I said, I'm going to go with Tristan Ebner.
Yeah, for me, I guess it depends what the strategy is. If you want to go big or go home, I think it's definitely Darington Evans. And I don't think it's much of a question just because we see how many passes he's getting. But if you're looking for, that kind of clear-cut captain that's going to get you a lot of points that you can rely on, he's definitely not the guy. So it's got to be Ebner. So it just kind of, I guess, depends on what you want to do.
Agreed. Rashad Penny going over to the Seahawks now. They're running back. Rashad Penny came back to practice this week. I think he's going to play tonight. And again, we don't have the starting lineups here. I expect him to get a little bit of run. I don't expect him to play past the first series. So while Penny is really good, I like him a lot. Again, we're just talking about who has the biggest chances to score a touchdown. And if we're saying he only has one drive, then I just don't really want to have exposure to Rashad Penny personally. So I'm not going to play him. But, he's good, right?
Yeah, he's really good. I like him in actual like fantasy football year-long drafts. But if somebody's only playing a drive, they better be getting peppered with targets, and that's not really how it works in preseason. So no reason for him.
Kenneth Walker, the rookie, hernia surgery, so he's not playing. Next one, DJ Dallas. Last week he played really well, had 17 snaps, carried the ball 10 times in those 17 snaps, had 73 yards, caught one pass. So out of his 17 snaps, he touched the ball 11 times. Not too shabby. That kind of usage, can we expect it again this week? Probably not. Again, a lot of people are going to try to look for repeat performances just because they don't know a lot of these players. So while I do like DJ Dallas a lot, and I do have plenty of exposure to him tonight, both in the captain spot and just as a flex, like there's a lot to be said to pivot off of him. Just because, again, how often does a player repeat back-to-back great preseason games? Not too often. Can he do it, though, against the Bears defense? With the Seahawks offensive line looking good last week? Absolutely. So you need to play DJ Dallas at least some, but I wouldn't go 100% on this guy.
Yeah, he's a weird guy to me because obviously back-to-back performances are hard to come by, but it's tough to, and we're not doing it, but to discount him when obviously he's in 17 plays and he touches the ball 11 times. That's about as good as it gets. But you'd have to think there's going to be some sort of regression. But at the same time, if he's getting that much work, even a little bit of regression, one touchdown solves all the problems. So it's kind of a mixed bag, uneasy feeling with that guy.
I agree. Running back 4 for the Seahawks is Travis Homer, who I feel like has only impressed whenever he sees the field. He just doesn't see the field a ton. Last week, he did play 12 snaps, though. Had 3 targets, caught 2 of them for 33 yards, carried the ball only 4 times, but took those 41 yards. Again, like, we're playing against a bunch of defensive players who are slower than what you're going to see on Sundays in a few weeks. These are guys who are going to be out of position. And when these smaller, quicker running backs for the Seahawks find a little bit of space, they're going to get a bunch of yards. That's what we saw with DJ Dallas. I think you can see the same thing with Travis Homer again today. And if you're not playing DJ Dallas in a lineup, I think you can play Travis Homer. I think you can stack Travis Homer with either quarterback. I think he probably crosses over between them a little bit in terms of his snaps. So I like Travis Homer quite a bit as well. I think I would lean DJ Dallas, but I still think Homer should be played today too.
It's always hard to predict preseason games, obviously, because they're preseason games. But this just feels like it could shape out to be one of those really ugly preseason games where the Seahawks don't really take a whole lot of shots down the field, I don't see. And I just see them kind of running the ball. And then obviously, if you're pounding the rock with a good offensive line against a bad defense, as the game goes on, it gets worse and worse for the defense. So I like Homer. I might actually lean him a little bit over Dallas just because I see him being in longer. And I see the game going the Seahawks way. But obviously it's not like predicting Seahawks Bears regular season. You're starting to get in the dicey area with that.
Right. The other running backs I wouldn't play, however, Darwin Thompson, we've seen him play well in the preseason before. He saw 10 snaps last week, carried it 3 times for 15 yards. Josh Johnson didn't play last week. Again, this is a short week for the preseason, so could we see DJ Dallas go from 17 snaps down to 12 and put those 5 snaps on Darwin Thompson? Absolutely. I don't need to play Darwin Thompson. I might have him on one lineup just because you should have some exposure to somebody who's going to see snaps, but he doesn't excite me personally.
I don't think really any of the running. I mean, you have DJ Dallas, and Penny's obviously going to be a possession, so DJ Dallas and Homer are probably going to take away the majority of the rest of the game too. I mean, they're not going to be in the whole game, but between the two of them, there's not going to be much left for the guys behind them.
Correct. I'm just looking to see if we can get any type of lineup news, but I don't see much of anything except for, Rashad Penny's not going to play. He went through a full pregame, but he's not going to play. So adjust your lineups. And that makes Darwin Thompson a little bit more desirable, obviously. But it's good that we know this. Very good that we know this, because a lot of people will not. Let's go to the Seahawks wide receivers. DK Metcalf, if he plays, don't expect more than a series. I don't think he'll play. I don't think Tyler Lockett will play. Freddie Swain, I think, is still hurt. He returned to practice, it looks like 2 days ago. If he plays, I don't expect him to play a bunch because he has a back injury. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. D. Eskridge is still hurt. He's not going to play. Marquise Goodwin is just coming back from injury. He's also still in the NFL. Interesting. I don't think he's going to play. So we are getting limited with Seahawks receivers here, which is good for DFS. Now let's go to the people who actually are interesting. Penny Hart. Penny Hart's been working with the first team with Geno Smith. He played 16 snaps last week, ran 12 routes on those 16 snaps. He's not my favorite Seahawks receiver, but he's interesting. You should have some exposure, and he would be a stack with Geno. I'll just run through these, and you can tell me who you like the most. And I'm probably going to sound biased to the ones I do. Beau Melton, 7th-round pick this year from Rutgers. He played 30 snaps last week, ran 19 routes. He only saw 3 targets, but he got 2 of them for 47 yards. Darington Young, 7th-round pick this year as well. 6'3", athletic dude. Played 43 snaps last week, ran 25 routes, caught 4 of his 5 targets, 30 yards, a touchdown. Kay Johnson, 19 snaps, 14 routes. Aaron Fuller, 17 snaps, 13 routes, caught only 1 ball. Kevin Cassis from Montana State. He played 11 snaps last week, 6 routes, 1 catch for 10 yards. Those are the receivers for not Tennessee, Seattle. Any of those guys really interest you?
It has to be Beau Melton just for what he can do. Like, his skill set is incredible. And with everybody out, I mean, it kind of has to be him. Again, like we've kind of mentioned, the best way to get points in preseason is just who's going to be on the field more and who's going to have the most opportunities. And clearly from the stats you just read off, that's Beau Melton. And we know they should probably go to him more. And I would be shocked if he got 2 receptions again. You don't put up a performance like he did last time with that many targets consistently. I don't see that.
I like Beau Melton as well. I think a lot of people are talking him up as the best Seahawks receiver today, rightfully so. Darington Young, though, I think there's something to be said about him as well. 43 snaps is a lot last week. Again, does that mean he gets dialed back? I don't think the Seahawks are in a spot where they're even capable of doing that. Like, they have to play these guys, and I do have multiple lineups with a Geno Smith, Beau Melton, Darington Young stack. And I think that is, it's hopefully going to be the league winner or the tournament winner doing that and then running it back with some under-owned guys, making sure we don't get a 0 because, there's some people that are going to be playing Rashad Penny. There might be people playing Tajay Sharp. Again, no news on him yet. That's what I was looking for. But I'm not sure if he's going to play. But yeah, let's go to the Bears wide receivers then. Darnell Mooney played 18 snaps last week. Again, the 6 to 10 snaps, the one series is probably what we will see from him. Pringle, injured, didn't play last week, not likely to play this week. N'Keal Harry, surgery. Dude's going to get cut. Equanimous St. Brown, Hard Knocks darling. He snuck his way onto this year. He played 17 snaps last week, 10 routes, didn't really do much with them. I'm not even sure if he got target, but he carried the ball once. Pretty much the only thing he's been good at is a jet sweep, so we might see another jet sweep from him. Velus Jones, obviously, is the rookie who Justin Fields likes. He didn't play last week. He's going to play today, and it sounds like they're going to give him extended run because he didn't play last week, and he needs to prove that he can be that slot wide receiver. Isaiah Coulter, he's been playing with the first team because of those injuries. He led the team with 4 targets last week, it looks like. Caught 2 passes for 12 yards, so nothing crazy. That's not true. He didn't. This article says he led the team with 4 targets. I'm telling you that's not true. You know why? Tajay Sharp. He had 6 targets last week. Caught 2 of them for 27 yards. He looked really good. I like Tajay Sharp quite a bit. But he's had an injury I think yesterday, 2 days ago. So for that reason, I'm not 100% sure if he's going to play. If he played really well last week, I would assume Tajay Sharp is a lock to make the roster. He at least should be. So I'm not playing much of him, and I'm watching the news and hopefully finding out that he's not playing. Nasimbo Webster, don't know much about him. Has an awesome name. Played 29 snaps last week. Daz Newsome, he is kind of competing for that returner job with Velus Jones. He needs to impress in the preseason to make the roster. 19 snaps last week. He did catch a touchdown. I think he only had 1 target, but it was for a touchdown. So good for him. Couple more guys. There's no one who's interesting here. But Kevin Shaw played 18 snaps last week. David Moore, I don't think he's going to play. Chris Finke didn't practice. He's hurt. He's not going to play. And then Dante Pettis is still in the NFL, and Dante Pettis is on the Chicago Bears. He's been working with Nate Peterman, so that tells you where he stacks up on the Bears roster. But if you're looking for a wide receiver to stack with Nate Peterman, I think it's probably Dante Pettis. And boy, doesn't the world need a Nate Peterman to Dante Pettis touchdown today. That seems likely to happen, just to put the cherry on top of a terrible, terrible preseason matchup. Any of those guys excite you, Trevor?
No.
Yeah.
Just no.
Not really. I'm playing a decent amount of Velus Jones just because I think the Bears do need to see something from him. And I assume he's going to run with the ones. And Justin Fields has continued to say he really likes this guy. His locker, I believe, is right next to him. And I could see him looking to him, multiple times in that one drive. So I like him. Equanimous is interesting. Nobody else excites me, personally. Tight ends. Cole Kmet didn't play last week. He should play this week. Again, one drive. They don't need to see anything from Cole Kmet. Ryan Griffin didn't play last week. He might play this week. Ryan Griffin, not an exciting guy, but he's at least experienced. He's an interesting red zone guy for the Bears. James O'Shaughnessy is not a receiving tight end. Chase Allen. He actually looked pretty good last week. This is the guy I was thinking of. Chase Allen, 6'6", 250, super athletic dude. He's a blocker, but he played 31 snaps last week, and he is going to get a lot of run today, I think. So I think he's a sneaky touchdown guy. However, he needs a touchdown to be relevant. And then Jake Tongas apparently has been working with Justin Fields with Cole Kmet being out. Played 27 snaps last week. So I suppose he's interesting as well with that first team offense, I guess. Any of those guys, do you need to play them?
I think, if you're going big or go home, I think I would, if somebody's going to score on the first drive for the Bears, I would assume it would be Kmet. Like, that just seems like the guy to me because I don't think it's Montgomery. I don't trust any of the wide receivers. But that's a pretty big gamble. I mean, if he doesn't score a touchdown, you need 50 yards from him on that first drive, and that's not going to happen either.
Okay, David Montgomery not playing tonight. And then right
Okay.
tackle for the Bears, Riley Reif, also not playing tonight. So bad offensive line gets worse. I'm not sure if they're playing Tevin Jenkins at the ones for guard tonight, but if they are, they're really just doing their best to put him in the worst position possible at all points. They're like, let's see how many different ways you can fail. Let's take away the tackle and give you some scrub who's not going to make the team. Whatever. Okay. By the way, no right tackle. Where's Justin Fields going to roll out to? He rolls out to the right. It's even more reason not to play Justin Fields. More reason for the Bears not to play Justin Fields. I'm going to get away from this first team Bears offense as much as possible.
It's weird to me there haven't been more injuries in preseason. Like, I feel like by this time last year, there were at least like 3 ACL tears. Granted, Tim Patrick is out. And, cross the fingers, knock on wood. But it just seems odd that there have not been any massive injuries yet.
Well, freaking the Ravens had more injuries at this time last year than the entire NFL has this year, basically. They were one after another. I don't know how that happened. But yeah, you're right. Okay, and then you can also play defenses and kickers. I'm not playing either of these defenses. I mean, you need to have some exposure. Like for my top lineups, I'm not going to do it. I'm not playing Cairo Santos for the Bears. They have zero reason to let him kick. He's the most accurate kicker in Bears history currently. They know what they have in him. Jason Myers, though, for the Seahawks, I think is interesting. I do think the Seahawks offense is going to have success, so that's good for him. And he wasn't very good last year, and he needs to kick. I think he had one field goal attempt last week, and he made it. So look for him to kick a little bit more tonight. The Bears are always a good defense to play kickers against because they have that bend, don't break approach. And would it be surprising if Jacob Eason drives the field on the Bears and doesn't score in the red zone? That would not be surprising in the slightest. So I like Jason Myers. So as I look for more news to hopefully win us shit, let's talk about some of these top lineups that I think you can make. One of my favorite ones, and again, this isn't a contrarian one, this is me playing the chalk and not worrying about it, is going Geno Smith at the captain. This is on DraftKings. I have Trevor Simeon as a flex, DJ Dallas as a flex, Ebner, where's that doing that? Derek Young, and then Jason Myers. And I think you can sub Jason Myers out with Beau Melton there. I like that as well. I also have one with Trevor Simeon as the captain with Geno, Darington Evans, Equinemius St. Brown, Travis Homer, Geno, Beau Melton. So I like those. I think DJ Dallas is an interesting captain. I think Travis Homer is a really interesting captain. I'm playing quite a bit of Velus Jones as well. Who else do I have exposure to quite a bit? Okay, so the news. Let's just talk about the news because that's probably a better way to think about this. So we know Montgomery's out. We know Rashad Penny's out. We also know Ken Walker's out, obviously, for the Seahawks. So if the Seahawks are on their third string running backs, that's DJ Dallas and Travis Homer. I think you need to play one of those two in pretty much every lineup because I think the Seahawks offensive line is going to look really good today. Do you agree with that, or what's your thoughts about
They have
strategy?
to run the ball. You gotta pick one. If you can, I'd even pick two. Obviously, that's if it's a cap, if it's a salary cap one, it's gonna be a little tough to stay under. I'd assume. I don't have the values in front of them or the prices in front of them, but
you can play anybody for the preseason. They priced it so you can just make any lineup.
I would play both of them personally. Then you gotta have at least one.
For the people who like those player prop fantasy sites, I'm on Underdog right now, Again, you can sign up for underdogfantasy.com with the promo code Flurry and get a free $10. David Montgomery's prop is still up, so you can bet the under. I'm not sure if they're going to do it where if he doesn't play, then it's voided. I'm not for sure, but it's at least a free square if they don't do that. And along with that, then, you could go under on David Montgomery. You can go, let's see what they got here. Over, you can bet Geno Smith to score a passing touchdown. I like that. He's going to get a full half to do it. I like Velus Jones over 1.5 receptions. I think I like that. Darnell Mooney to catch one ball. I like that. I think he does that on the first drive as well. You can do Trevor Simeon to score a passing touchdown, but I'm not going to. So if I just do David Montgomery under his prop, Geno Smith to pass for a touchdown, Velus Jones to catch at least 2 passes, and Darnell Mooney to catch 1 pass at least, it's 10x your entry. So you can put $10 on it, win $100, and if they void it because of the David Montgomery thing, then oh well. Oh well. But if they don't void it and you win, congratulations to you. I think that's a winning one. Do you like those, or is there any other ones that you like on there currently?
There aren't many that I'm looking at that I like. Obviously, preseason is so hard, but those ones just seem to be the most quote unquote automatic. Outside of that, I don't really see anything that I like.
Yeah. There's a few of those that are tough. It looks like Prize Picks did update it with the news. They are very quick. Good for them. Bad for us. I think let's just hang out here for a little bit. If anyone has questions, fire them away in the chat on YouTube. If you're watching on Twitter, you have to click into the stream. You can't just tweet at it. We won't see it. But let's just hang out for a little bit. I'm looking for news just to see if we can figure out anybody else who's not going to play. And I'm getting David Montgomery out of the couple lineups where I have him. But like my favorite plays overall. I also really like, by the way, I don't think I said it. I like Ebner, Tristan Ebner as a captain as well. Because again, I think if we're talking about who is the single player who has the highest chance to score a rushing touchdown in the entire game, maybe, I think it's him. And at that point, that's good. And as a captain, he's the only one that gets that point, not the quarterback, obviously, if he runs it in. So I like that strategy today as well. Let's see. And then if anyone else sees preseason news, let me know. Drop it in the comments so we can all win here together.
You know, while you're searching for news, I got a question for you about a season-long league that some people may have. So currently in a regular league, regular scoring, pretty much half PPR. The thing that I like with leagues is 3 wide receivers. I think 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers just doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I met a common ground with the commissioner. Instead of a tight end spot, it's a wide receiver or tight end.
Mm-hmm.
It's for that 3rd wide receiver if you want or tight end. That adds in the possibility for a 4 wide receiver team. Would you say that league almost caters to just going no running back strategy? Because if you can have 4 wide receivers and 2 running backs per week, and you can stack up on those 2 elite wide receivers off the back, that seems like the move.
Yeah. I'm like, if you have those wide receivers that are guaranteed crazy targets, then yes. I still think there's enough depth at their wide receiver spot where I still want to have that one run. I want to have a RB1. Even in regular leagues, though, I think you can pass on RB2 for quite a bit. I think that's fine. Okay, there's a couple other people out, but it's just defensive people. Sidney Jones not going to play. couple other DBs for the Seahawks. So, I mean, that's good for the Bears, I suppose. Jamal Adams has a cast on his middle finger, apparently. If anybody cares, I certainly do not. You know who's interesting? I don't think he's in the player pool. Let me look just to make sure I'm not incorrect about this. Yeah, JJ Arcega-Whiteside, I believe, got traded to the Seahawks. He is a player who had so much potential. Quite from, yeah. He was a player with the Eagles who had so much potential, and he just never put it together. I don't think he's going to play today. There's nothing here that says that he's going to. But for the week 3 of the preseason, we'll see what Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf do. But I think he's a guy to watch for Seattle because their general manager, John Schneider, likes him quite a bit, it sounds like. Yeah, I'm not seeing much other news. That's crazy that they're not playing Riley Reef. But, yeah. The Seahawks have a really good pass rush, though. They're going to get to Fields quite a bit. Fields is going to get knocked around a little bit tonight, I think. So I think the one drive thing is probably the most likely. However, we're also expecting the Chicago Bears to, 1, make the correct decision, and 2, not put their quarterback in the worst position possible. And they like to make bad decisions, and they like to beat the shit out of their quarterbacks. So is what it is. Matt Eberflus says, oh, that's stuff we already talked about. Bad beat reporters. The Seahawks are singing a song. Demands I call it. Man, I hate the Seahawks. I think this fan base is just, man, I don't know. I think they're fake. I don't believe there's real Seahawk fans out there. Tell me I'm wrong. Someone let me know.
I mean, I have one friend who is a Seahawks fan. I don't know why. I mean, he wore Seahawks jerseys like in grade school, which would have been before the Super Bowl, like they lost to Pittsburgh. But other than that,
once Russell Wilson got there,
they don't exist. Yeah, they don't exist.
Yeah, they all came during the Legion of Boom thing. I don't think there were Seahawks fans there during Sean Alexander, Matt Hasselbeck, people like that. I just don't think so. They're all bandwagon fans, it feels like. And that's why the Seahawks can't tank. Like, if they tank, they're not going to have anybody. So that's why they are like, we kind of need to play Geno Smith so we win a couple games here. That's my opinion. But it doesn't look like we're going to get anything else. There's 12 minutes before lock. We are planning to do a DFS show like this during the regular season. I'm unsure if it's going to be on Thursday Night Football or if it's going to be Monday Night Football. Let us know if you have a preference. But that's what we are planning to do. If you are not up to date on DraftKings, Rainmakers Football, or NFL All Day, expect more content for that coming up pretty soon. I've had a couple people ask me to do sort of like a one-on-one sort of video, and I want to do that. I just want to do it right. I don't want it to be me stumbling over myself, figuring out what to talk about as we go. I actually kind of want to plan it, which is what we don't usually do. I don't usually plan the stuff I say. Shout out Coney 2012 last night. But Trevor, is there anything else you want to talk about before we enjoy this exhilarating preseason game?
I wish you luck and everybody luck in all their contests, because if not, this is going to be such a dud of a game and a night, because this is bad.
Yes, it is. The only good thing about it is I can have it in the background while I write articles, and I don't really need to pay attention to it. That's good. But yeah, we will be back tomorrow with something. So if you're on YouTube, subscribe, like the video, hit the bell so you get notified. If you're not on YouTube, go to youtube.com/Flurry Sports and do the aforementioned steps that I said. I said redundant.